Adam Schefter just dropped a massive Broncos injury update. And if it comes to fruition, a huge piece to this roster that was so successful in the Broncos winning games early in the season would be back in action for this weekend's AFC Championship. And it would be a huge asset for Jarrett Stidham to utilize at the helm, playing starting quarterback with Bo Nix being out with the season-ending ankle injury in which he fractured his ankle in overtime and will not play for the remainder of the season, regardless of how long the Broncos can last and if they can make it to Super Bowl 60. This is a huge breaking news injury update, and we're going to make sure that we cover all the implications and discuss everything that is going on in the world of Broncos football, in that we might have a huge piece of our lineup back in action this coming weekend. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Broncos Digest. Mark Robinson here, giving you all the news on Denver Broncos football as usual here at Broncos Digest. Guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, right now is the time to do so. The subscriber count is slowly climbing up, and we need your guys' support in order to keep it going and try to get us up to 2,000 subscribers. We are going to be pumping out the most content that we have ever pumped out on this channel this week, because obviously it's AFC Championship week. There's so much news going on outside of the fact that the Broncos are the number one seed hosting the AFC Championship against the Patriots. We've got crazy injury updates. We've got a bunch of stuff going on. So we're making sure that we're keeping you covered. So now's the time to hit that subscribe button, join the fastest growing source for Denver Broncos news. All right, we've got a huge injury update that we need to cover surrounding starting running back earlier in the season, J.K. Dobbins. Per Adam Schefter, the source, that Broncos are opening the practice window for running back J.K. Dobbins. He suffered what was thought to be a season-ending foot injury in Week 10 against the Raiders. Now J.K. Dobbins has a chance to play in Sunday's AFC Championship game versus the Patriots. It's likely that we will see him suiting up and playing, which would be a huge add to our offense, especially considering the heartbreaking news surrounding Bo Nix and his season-ending injury. And now that Jarrett Stidham is the starting quarterback, we're going to talk about why having an elevated piece to our run game added to the roster would be a huge add for the Broncos, right after we hear a quick message from Kalshi. Before we get into all of today's Denver Broncos news, I want to remind you that this video is brought to you by Kalshi. Kalshi is the largest prediction market that is currently live in the United States, and on their platform, you can trade yes or no on real-life events, sports, elections, and really any event you can think of. If you're in California, Texas, or Colorado, or anywhere across the country, Kalshi is currently live in all 50 states. For sports fans, you can trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out anytime. And for Broncos fans, you can trade on something like the Super Bowl odds. The Broncos are currently the third favorite team to win the Super Bowl, and you can trade on the Broncos taking home the Lombardi Trophy and making it all the way to Super Bowl 60 after they just recently clinched the number one seed in the AFC. This, along with so many more football props or any props you can think of in sports, as well as any other big events going on in the world, you can trade all of it on Kalshi. It's a smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. So download Kalshi with the link in the description and use code DIGESTNFL to get $20 when you trade $100 on Kalshi. Thanks to Kalshi for those quick messages. Guys, if you haven't yet, head over to Kalshi.com. Check out all the different sports props that you can trade on, whether it's Broncos, NFL. I mean, we're deep in the playoffs right now. So much stuff you can trade on, whether it's the AFC or the NFC Championship, the Super Bowl 60 winner. Now that it's down to 4 teams, you can trade on all of it. And if you use that code DIGESTNFL at Kalshi.com, you get some money back in your pocket, and you can use that to trade on other stuff later down the road. From politics to sports to YouTubers to anything going on in the world. It is the largest trade market in the United States, and you can trade on anything you want. And like I said, use that code DIGESTNFL, get some money back in your pocket, and get trading at Kalshi. All right, let's get back into this crazy news. Let's look at the depth chart right now and what the Broncos are working with. Obviously, Jarrett Stidham at the starting quarterback position, backed up by Sam Ehlinger. Bo Nix out for the season. Looking at the running back depth chart, RJ Harvery, the starter, Jaleel McLaughlin, the number 2 RB, who is seeing arguably more action behind the quarterback right now. RJ Harvey's a great hybrid offensive player, and he's been so strong as a rookie. But we see him kind of run swing routes and screen routes and even a few, hooks and outs 5-10 yards out. And he does a good job with that. But he's, a good running back too. And then you have Tyler Batty. And then all the way down at the end, J.K. Dobbins on IR. But he's open for practice. He's going to be working all week, hoping to play this coming weekend. That would, in my mind, shift everything shift everything to the right. Dobbins comes up. So it's Dobbins as the starter, RJ as the second, Jaleel McLaughlin as the third. It could even be Dobbins as the starter, McLaughlin as the second. And because our wide receivers are so batted up right now, I mean, you look on the wide receiver depth chart, we have Courtland Sutton and Marvin Mims Jr., but then Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant, both questionable after Pat Bryant went into concussion protocol during the divisional game. Troy Franklin sustained an injury as well that I think was lower body. You could even see Sean Payton potentially utilize RJ Harvey more as a wide receiver. Obviously, he'll get some reps behind the quarterback too. But if J.K. Dobbins is able to play and he gets bumped up to that starting running back position, it would be massive for the Broncos and their offensive approach to this AFC Championship game. And here's why. Look at the rushing depth chart, look at the rushing box score from the divisional game. Bo Nix had the most rush yards and the most carries out of all the running backs Sean Payton was utilizing. He had 12 carries for 29 yards, averaged 2.4 yards per rush. Jaleel McLaughlin only had 4 carries. RJ Harvey only had 6 carries. The number one running back had half as many carries as the starting quarterback in this divisional game. And look at Bo Nix, had the most rush yards as well. 29 rush yards to Jaleel McLaughlin's 21 and to RJ Harvey's 20. Not even a lot of rush yards across all three of these players, but if you look at adding J.K. Dobbins to a now Bo Nix-less team that has Jarrett Stidham at the helm as quarterback, you might see the ball on the ground a lot more. And if you have J.K. Dobbins as the guy that's running the ball, I'm suspecting you're going to see a lot more than 29 total rushing yards from your number one rusher and probably more than 70 rushing yards total, which would be huge for the Broncos. You can see on this box score right here the approach that Sean Payton was taking. And I think that we'll have a lot more room to run the ball and feel a little bit more comfortable about doing so with adding a guy like J.K. Dobbins back into the RB depth chart. And with all that in mind, you look at the Patriots on this list here. This is yards allowed by a defense. I think it's rush yards allowed. I'm not 100% for sure. I think get confirmation really quickly here. Yes, this is defense rush yards allowed rankings. The Jags had the least. They're out of the playoffs now. Broncos have the second least, so they are a very strong team at preventing the run. If you go down the list to 3, 4, 5, and then 6, there's the Patriots right there. They have allowed the 6th least rush yards this season. But with a Broncos offense that's looking to put a very strong performance up against the Patriots, I think J.K. Dobbins could be a difference maker in giving the Patriots a tougher running back to cover than usual, which was why it would be so big to have him back. So obviously crazy news from Adam Schefter. The potential to have J.K. Dobbins this weekend would be massive for the Denver Broncos, especially considering already the fact that they're missing Bo Nix. We'll be keeping you covered on everything surrounding this injury update and everything else going on in the world of Broncos football. As usual here at Broncos Digest, please subscribe, please like, please join the fastest growing source for Broncos news and updates. We appreciate each and every one of you guys that is already supporting, and we'll be keeping you covered and talking to you more as the week unfolds and as we get closer to the AFC Championship game.